Welcome to the Emotional and Mental Health Summit. My name is Dolores Andrew Gavin and I'm your host. I am the founder of The Mythic Fairy, a dedicated children's website for all things emotional health. I'm also the author of 2 children's books, an empowerment and assertive coach, a podcaster, blogger and mum. I have 2 reasons, I guess, for doing this summit and bringing it together. And firstly, it's to support the whole conversation that's already there around emotional and mental health. And secondly, I also want to bring tools to people to show them that, I suppose, firstly, that there are tools that we can use to help us, whether that be learning something like emotional freedom technique or helping ourselves to step into our power by finding our voice. There are lots of different tools I'll share on this summit from the speakers that will be speaking. And also, of course, you also will hear from people who have been on a journey themselves. So it's always good to know that we're not alone and that others have travelled the same path possibly as ourselves. I hope that you enjoy the summit. Thanks for being here. Welcome back to the Emotional and Mental Health Summit. My next guest, I'm delighted to be joined by the lovely Judith Quin. And Judith speaks all things that I love, and that's finding your voice. She's an international public speaker, the author of Stop Shoulding, Start Wanting, and co-author of international #1 bestsellers Pay It Forward series, Notes to My Younger Self, Volume 2, and Transformation Lessons. And she's also a member of the Association of Transformational Leaders of Europe. So, you know, it's about finding your true voice with Judith, and then, importantly, finding and having the confidence to use it to change our lives. You're so welcome to the conversation, Judith. It's great to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm honoured, and it's just so important for me to share the message that I just think any way that we can support people in managing the emotions, in making sense of what's going on in life. And I think our job as people who are out there working in these fields is it's one person at a time. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to reach more than one person at a time.
Not at all. Delighted to have you here because I know I've worked with you recently and it's great. So I am going to ask you to describe what it is you do that you say you help people explore the brain, body, breath, voice, vibration connection.
Yeah.
How you do that with people? I'm fascinated.
Well, I have got to where I am through, as we do through life's journey. So I started off, all I ever wanted to do since I was 8 was be an actress. And I did. I didn't let anything hold me back. Well, I let some things hold me back, and a lot of that was my mental process. But I trained to be an actress. I was a classically trained professional actress for 20 years, but I've also always been a natural and holistic healer. So I always used to massage and I'd feel energy, and I was forever singing and sounding, and I was always the person people came to for help. So then I discovered sound healing and coaching, life coaching. And one day a massage client said to me, "Judith, you're an actress." I said, "Yes." "And you do that stuff with sound?"
Yeah.
Because no one really it's one of those really annoying things that I've even had marketing experts who've worked with me. I had one lady, marketing and branding is what she does. And she did a 2-day intensive with me. And I'm like, "So can you describe it?" She went, "No." Which is not very useful. But anyway, this massage client, she asked me, could I help her husband, because he had a public speech that he had to do, a talk in front of 80 solicitors, and he hated public speaking. And I was like, well, who am I to go to this 65-year-old magistrate and help him create a talk? Turned out I was the perfect person.
Wonderful.
Because when I worked with him, what I realized is, yes, it's a little bit about the words you're saying. Yes, it's a little bit about how you say them. But mostly, and it was such a revelation to me in that session with him, that I realized he thought his topic was boring. So he thought other people would think it's boring. And what you're thinking, so your brain, is what comes across, and it's what your audience hear. So what you think impacts how you stand. So if you think it's boring, you're going to be like, oh God, this is so boring. And then how you stand, so your body impacts your breath. So brain, body, breath are all connected. And that all impacts your vibration, the energy you bring into the room. And so that's where I started working with the brain, body, breath, voice vibration, whole vibration connection, because actually each one impacts the other. So
well put, that's fascinating. I love the way you put that, actually.
Yeah. And it's not just, the body isn't just how you're standing.
Mm-hmm.
It's also, and this is where the voice vibration work is really powerful, and just the shifts and changes that people have when they're working with discovering your own true voice vibration and allowing yourself to feel that, because the body holds on to all the memories, emotions, energy of everything we've been through in life. It holds on to it on a cellular level. So you may have heard of muscle memory. You learn how to ride a bike. You might not have ridden a bike for 20 years, but someone says, oh, come on, let's go and cycle through the woods, and you can get on a bike and cycle. You have muscle memory, and your cells have cell memory, and they remember the sounds, they remember the emotions, they remember what happened when you spoke up in school assembly and somebody laughed, and your body holds on to that memory on a frequency, on an energetic frequency. And that's where sometimes when people go to share their voice, the body then shuts off and says, no, we don't do that, because if we do that, people might laugh. And then when you speak, your voice doesn't have the resonance, the vibration of truth, or like you're really speaking with the courage of your convictions, and then the audience doesn't quite get it. So I help people really recognize and release what the body is holding on to, so that you can create space and start to find your true voice vibration to express yourself in whatever situation that is. And this is really important, especially for mental health. And the companies that I work in, I really started realizing, and I'm on a bit of a soapbox about this at the moment, people are suffering in silence because they feel it's not safe to speak up. They feel that, well, if I share this thought, this idea, this feeling, this emotion, this opinion, then people might shut me down. So instead of letting their boss know, actually, I don't get this, they sit and suffer in silence and let the stress build up and the pressure build up, and it never gets expressed. And then it just gets cumulatively worse, until I was working with people who were ready to resign the job, like under so much stress. And actually, when we broke it down, what needed to be expressed was really simple. And when they do, it's amazing the differences that happen. And so it's really important that people out there, if there is something that is going on, find a way to express it, because if you don't say it, people can't help you. If people don't know, if you're not telling people, actually, I don't like this, or this is challenging for me, or I need more support. If you don't say it, people won't know, and they won't help you, because everyone else is going around in their own bundle of stress. Everyone else is going around with their own things that they're carrying and not expressing or sharing. And it's amazing the release that happens when one person does, because then other people then feel empowered to say, oh, well, actually, I'd like more training in that area, or actually, I need to tell you this. So it's not just about public speaking. Like for me, all speaking is public speaking, because you're making your inner thoughts, feelings, ideas, opinions public. You're taking them out from inside you and putting them out to the world.
Oh, that's a great way to explain it, Judith. It's wonderful. And that's great, because you hit on such an important, the essence of the summit is to, I suppose, support that conversation around mental and emotional health, but it's also to get people talking. And that's exactly what you're saying. And it's releasing the past and coming into the present where the magic happens, because what we do now in the present moment is creating our future. But rather than living in the past, worrying about, and not even, unconsciously, obviously, at times, we are held in this, as you said, the cellular memory that's there and that gets triggered in the present moment, but we go back to the past, or else we project our frustration or anxiety into the future.
Yeah. And it's that, well, if I say this, that will happen, and we create a disaster in our minds. And I'm just as guilty. I'll raise my hands, you know. I've done that. It's like, well, if I say that I don't know this, how are people going to judge me?
Yeah.
And mental health and emotional health are so interlinked, because if we feel safe, secure, supported, stable, strong, emotionally, then we're less likely to not care, but we're less likely to get limited by expressing ourselves. But if there's something in the situation that takes away any of that safety, security, stability, or strength, then that's when the doubts creep in, and the fears of expressing yourself. Oh, but people might think I'm stupid. What if they know more than me? What if it's a ridiculous idea? What if I get sacked for expressing this?
Yeah.
And we create a massive drama, and that creates the stress, and that is the mental health challenge of putting ourselves under too much pressure and too much stress.
So what are some of the tools that you use with people, Judith, in the sound relation to the sound vibration? Is always something I'm fascinated with, because sound is has such an effect on us.
Yeah.
Music, you know.
Well, yeah, on all levels.
Yeah.
And so lots of people know about sound healing. There's a lot of stuff out there now with gong baths and Tibetan bowls and crystal bowls and chimes. So, which is fabulous. Didgeridoos, drum workshops. And for me, I love all sound healing, but using voice vibration sounding is the most powerful to help people really recognize their own blockages and to release them, because you're using your voice or you're receiving my voice. So sometimes I work with people, like even online, you know, and I'm sounding down the internet to someone in Australia or America, and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling it reverberating in my knee. And I was like, okay, great. Because the body sound travels through water and bone. If you think of how whales can resonate their sound through their bone structure and send it out through the oceans.
Yeah.
And what are our bodies if not water and bone? So when you're using, and your voice is vibration, like it's made by your vocal cords vibrating against each other. And when you speak, you get the vibration, the sound waves travel through you. And if you think of waves traveling through water and the ripples going through your body, and then what happens is, the easiest way I describe it is when you receive the sound or when you are making the sound, which is hugely powerful. So on the retreats that I run, I get the attendees sounding their own voice. So you feel where your body gets, no, I'm tensing up. So where you're holding a mental, physical, emotional, energetic blockage in your cells, you feel the resistance. And the best way I can describe it is, if you think of the way how you've heard that an opera singer can shatter a crystal glass. So this is the crystal glass, and this is the opera singer's voice.
Yes.
and when the sound waves match the resonant frequency of the crystal starts shaking. Right? And then if you hold that note on that resonant frequency, because it's shaking because it recognizes it and it wants to absorb more of it, but there's only so much space in that form, and that's when the crystal glass shatters. And that, to me, is the easiest way to describe how it feels when the voice and your resonance hits the emotional form or the emotional frequency or energy, and suddenly you well up and everything's just like, oh, you can feel your body going, and then you have to release. And it sometimes it releases in laughter and giggliness, sometimes it's frustration and anger, sometimes it's tears and gunk and snot, but there's always a release because your body recognizes that resonant frequency of that emotion, that energy.
Wow. Fascinating way to describe it. Wonderful.
So so just helping people to explore their own voices. So through using vibration sound, humming is the simplest and easiest way for you to start playing with your voice and start feeling like, so most people have disconnected their voice from who they are and disconnected their voice from their body.
Mm.
So try and do it.
Can you speak to us a little bit about that, actually? Because I touch on that work myself when I do a lot of work with chakras, and I find that women in particular, now men obviously too, but women in particular carry an awful lot of blocked energy in their throat chakra, which obviously is where we express both what we want to say to the world, but also what we say to ourselves. So doesn't it really kind of go hand in hand with it all, that the throat chakra is the gateway to obviously getting what is inside us out or in?
Yeah, definitely. And also the throat chakra. So the expression, it often is impacted by specifically the lower chakras. So sometimes it's, so say your root, you know, so from birth to sort of 3, the root chakra, and maybe you didn't feel safe, secure, stable, or strong. You know, that you were in a situation where you were uncertain of a parent or a guardian's love, and that's your stability, your strength, your certainty. So then it's not safe to love, so it's not safe to express love, so that energy gets trapped in your throat chakra. So all sorts of energies can end up not coming out through here. And it's about, so I'm going to try and do it vocally so people can hear it.
Love it. Yes, please do.
So what happens is lots of people speak from a voice sort of somewhere like here. So you can hear now, like, the resonance of my voice has completely changed, and it's much more in my head. I'm actually quite at the front of my head. And this is safe because there's very little resonance. Your body is like an instrument, but most people are playing with just this much of the amplifier, and it's cut off from here. It's like, we don't need the throat chakra, don't need to express ourselves and what we really feel, and definitely don't want to show what's in our heart, because that's vulnerable. We might have to open ourselves up, and that's really tiring for me to do now. So let me just speak with my voice. So, but you hear how now that I've come back in full voice, it's vulnerable.
Sorry, I lost you there for a little moment there. Can you just repeat that, Judith? Just the internet or the Wi-Fi just kind of hung a bit. Can you just repeat that there? I don't know what happened.
And we're back.
We're back.
Fab.
Sorry about that. Yes. So you were saying there, Judith, in relation to about the energy.
Yeah. So being able to be, the more you can bring your voice into your body, the more you can feel your own voice vibration, the more of your instrument that you can play, the more connection you will have with others. And it takes practice sometimes, and it's about forming your connection to who you really are and what's really important to you. So when you are expressing yourself in that situation that you're unsure of, you know you're connected to, I refer to your deepest truth, which lives sort of in your belly, in your gut, in your root. And for me, the deepest truth is all there is love. So if I'm coming at whatever the challenging situation is from a place of all there is love, and that needs to be taken into account, because I don't know what the other people I'm talking to are going through. And connected to your higher purpose, which is up here. When they're connected, excuse me, and come through you, then when it's expressed from your heart through your throat, there is more of a resonance of, actually, I'm going to express this because it's more important than me. So for example, I had a client who was, he was, let's take one of my clients who was ready to resign from a job that actually he was good at and loved. He was really scared that if he spoke up, he'd get sacked, and he wasn't ready to move on. He was thinking about moving on, but wasn't ready.
Sure.
And what we as humans tend to do is we get caught in our emotions of what we're feeling. So he was feeling unheard. He was feeling belittled. He was feeling like he didn't count anymore. And that made him feel angry and frustrated. So often when we go to have those conversations or to express ourselves, we come with the anger and the frustration because they're the top level of what we're feeling.
Yes.
So if we go under the anger and frustration, we've got the uncertain, don't know where I stand anymore. And what's really important? Well, what's really important is that I like my job and it makes a difference when it's done properly. And there's the higher purpose. So I want to make a difference. So when you're going to express yourself, are you going to make a difference in anger, upset, hurt? No, because you're just wanting to feel right and have right done by you. So I said, what's the real issue? And the real issue was, I don't know where I stand anymore. And that's something really solid that you can go to a lover, a boss, a family member, whatever the situation is, and say, I need to talk to you about this. I don't know where I stand anymore since you've come into this project. I've been doing it for 3 years, but you're 2 levels senior to me. I don't know where I stand anymore. I'm not sure the team knows what's going in the structure. And do you have an insight on that? What happened was his boss went, oh my God, I don't know where I stand either. They started chatting. And now a year later, he is that man's right-hand man. He's on the fast track to directorship. There was another situation with another manager, which when my client spoke up about it, 7 other people said, oh my goodness, I have that problem with that manager as well. And that manager got moved into a different position. So when you come out of that ability to go, okay, what really needs to be expressed here? Because I can't go on. I don't want people carrying around that fear of expressing themselves or suffering in silence. But it is about taking your own responsibility for yourself and saying, okay, what is really important here? I'm angry, yes, or I'm frustrated, or I'm hurt, or I'm upset, yes. But why? What's under it? What is the tangible thing that I can express that someone else may be able to give me insight on, or may be able to help me with? Or, my biggest failing was asking for help. I was like, I have to do it all on my own. I have to be strong. I have to be the one that solves the problem. If I ask for help, that's weak.
Yeah. I love it. And that's really like what I talk about as well. And you're really verbalizing it in such a wonderful way. That's our root voice, isn't it? Our authentic voice. When we actually speak up our truth, it's wonderful. And it's coming from our own root, as you say, where we stand on the ground and where we feel like we belong. And I think the sense of belonging, it can be so scattered all over the place for so many people, including myself at times even, that it's that when we come back to the root, as you talk about, I love that. You're rooted in the ground with your root voice coming out, connected
to your higher purpose.
Phenomenal.
And the biggest challenge is lots of us don't know either what our truest truth is, because we're so connected to our reactionary truth. And that's what I write about in the Notes to My Younger Self chapter that I have. My truth was, I hate my dad. My truest truth, when I had been through a whole load of self-awareness, self-development work and journey, and I was actually in my darkest place I've ever been, I recognized my truest truth was, I want to know if my dad loves me.
Oh, yeah.
Big difference. But for ages, my truth was, I hate my dad. And I let that energy run the show. And that was not good for my mental and emotional health.
Yeah.
So sometimes we don't know our truest truth. So that's the hurdle number 1. And the other hurdle is often, especially with public speaking, and public speaking can be sharing your idea in a team meeting.
Yeah, of course.
It is that we don't know where that fear comes from. And most of my clients, it's something that they've forgotten. And it's often not the big incidents. So, because we always remember the big stuff that happened in life. But often with self-expression, it's a small thing that happened, often between the ages of 6 and 14. And for most of my clients at school, for some it's a family thing. But I'd say for about 85%, 90%, it's a thing that happened at school.
Interesting.
And sometimes, and sometimes younger. I did just have a client this weekend, a 2-day intensive client who their thing was actually they were 3 and it was family. So, but that's rare. It's normally between the age of 6 and 14 at school, and it's an incident someone's forgotten. But that's where the body goes, no, don't express that. To express yourself isn't safe. So those are the 2 biggest challenges, is that often we don't know where the block comes from, and sometimes we're not sure of what the truest truth is because we're so stuck in the reactionary truth. So as with any mental or emotional health challenge, the biggest challenge is being able to detach from the emotions that we are in and just be able to take ourselves out and look at it from a slightly different perspective, to be able to get that clarity on where we're at. And I've been there, and I've been in the dark places, and it's not easy when you're in those spaces to find that detachment, but expressing it really does help.
Yeah, I think it's when we come out of those dark places, that's where the magic happens. I always say to people too, when you lean into the darker places, if you stay there, you'll stay there. But if you lean in, you'll always find a little piece of light somewhere, whether it's through actually expressing, as you're saying there so eloquently, whether it's some way, but there'll always be a little glimmer if we can just stop enough and see how we can just move through this dark place. Because when we come out of there, it's wonderful. I think, and then we have the medicine to be able to share our story with others. And that's where I think it's wonderful, where people are sharing on this summit. Some people are sharing, yes, that we all have journeys. I mean, we all have things that life would throw at us to make us stronger. If we look at it like that coming out through those in whatever way we need to.
And especially, and I'm going to address this because it's so close to my heart, especially right now, there's an epidemic of young people killing themselves.
Yeah.
And I've been in the space where I've been waking up and my first thought every morning was, whose day-to-day life would it actually affect if I wasn't here anymore? Not a great space.
No.
Luckily for me, it would always take time, but I found someone, I was like, and that's when I got to the space of, okay, I'm not going to take myself out of this world. So I have a choice. I either stay in my misery or I shift my processes and do something about it. And that is what I did. But suicide has affected my family very recently. I've got a client whose nephew just took his life. And the thing that everyone always says is, why didn't they tell me?
Yeah.
Why didn't they say? Why didn't? So if you, and the biggest problem is, I know when I was there, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to burden other people with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I did get to the point where I was like, okay, I'm not going to do anything, but I took it maybe a little to the extreme. A friend's partner said to me, oh, how are you? And I went, slightly suicidal actually, but don't worry, that's not your problem. But putting it out there meant that people knew I wasn't in a good place. They were just like, oh, Judith, she's always busy. She's always, you're so busy. Your life's so full. So, and people see, and this is what I think the biggest problem is, people see your life through the filter of Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is. And we're all paddling like crazy underneath the water and looking like swans on top. So if we don't express to someone for me, then if we don't put it out there, people can't help us because they're in their thing too. But it doesn't mean they won't have time for you, because they will, because they don't want to be the one saying, oh my God, why didn't they tell us? Why didn't they say something?
Oh, that's so wonderful. Now you mentioned about sounding there earlier. Can you do it for us? Can you demonstrate?
Yeah. Would you like to do it with me?
Ooh. Okay.
Yes.
So me and my not wonderful voice. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have suggested that possibly now.
Well, why don't I say that everyone who's watching, why don't you all do this? So if you're wondering how can you connect to your voice, how can you, and this is great for a nerve management tool, by the way.
Okay.
It's really great for a state changer as well. So if you are feeling heavy, clumpy, low, and you want to raise your vibration and you want to come back into you, or if you're feeling a little frenetic and a little manic and things are like, oh, I've got 5 million things to do and I don't know where to start, it's great for really bringing you into centered space as well. as well as starting to find your voice coming into your heart and starting to feel your voice vibration. So this is a really simple, brilliant Swiss Army knife of a voice vibration tool, because it does so many things.
Recording here as well to put a snippet on this, so I can tempt people to hear more about it. Yes, let's go.
So first thing, I'd just like you to gently place your hand on your chest or over your heart. And you can close your eyes if it's easier. This is also a fabulous micro meditation, by the way. So breathe out through your mouth. Breathe in through your nose. And if you like, you can place your other hand on your belly, so as you're breathing, you can feel that breath-body connection. You feel how the breath and body are intrinsically linked. So keep breathing as I'm speaking. And then on the next exhalation, with gently touching lips and your teeth not touching, just hum. And just play with the tone of that hum. So keep humming as I'm talking. Just play, go slightly lower or slightly higher until you find that your chest is lightly vibrating. Yep, sometimes making sound will bring up a cough, it'll bring up a tickle, that's okay. And just repeat, And remember for that inhalation to be lovely and full through the nose. You feel how that brings you back into your body.
Absolutely.
So that is your voice vibration. And for those of you who are doing this, maybe if you didn't feel it in your chest, maybe you felt it in your nose or your lips or the back of your head, just play. That's where the playing with the tones. You can, and you can feel how your sound, how your voice, how your vibration travels through your body. So the higher notes resonate here and around the back of the head, and the lower notes come into the chest and then deep around the side of the ribs or the back. But play, and that heart note is your center, and it will change. It will change depending how tired you are. It will change depending on what exercise you've done that day. It will depend on your mood. So just play until you feel the vibration and do those lovely 3 hums, and it's a great way of coming into yourself. And if you're feeling brave, you can do the next step, which is about accepting hearing yourself, because a lot of people, they're like, oh, I hate the sound of my voice.
Yeah.
So then we go into the hum, and then just gently drop your jaw open, like you're a child pretending to go to the dentist. So, and I just do that because that's right in the jawbone there. So it's just a little self-indicator to go, oh yeah, all I'm doing is dropping my jaw. So that's the next step of really allowing yourself to be heard, because it makes the volume a little bit louder. So there you go, 2 really simple tools.
Love it. Mine was so incredible. My sign fell off the wall.
I know.
I don't know what that says about me, but anyway.
Well, sound is matter, so it has an effect. If you put a bowl of water next to a speaker, you'll see it create ripples. Yeah, and
it's funny actually. Yesterday, the same thing happened when somebody, my neighbor was doing some work in his garden, and there was a noise, and the sign fell off as well. And I thought, that's quite interesting. And there again this morning. It's like,
yeah, but sound is matter. And matter affects matter. So when you're using your voice, but it's why different tones of voice have different connection. You know, if sometimes if someone's speaking up here all the time, you know, it can just sound, and it can get a bit grating, or
yes,
just sound full, and you don't like to hear. And then sometimes if people are here all the time, you know, you can send you zizzing off into quiet slumber. So that's why we play with a variety of tones, so that when you're expressing yourself, you really can be heard.
Love it. And you know, somebody that if they were speaking, if they found that they did speak quite high like that a lot, would that be an indication that that person could do with some grounding, or is it just the way they speak?
sometimes it's physiological. So it might be that there is that they're a small person, so a smaller person generally has a higher pitched voice, because this is like your violin, and then here is like the cello, and then we come down to the ribs and the belly. That's like you're playing the double bass. Right? So you can put your the size of, if you think of a big man, think of someone like Brian Blessed, whose voice is booming like, he's a big man. It's lots of deep space. But yeah, you can move your voice. Before I went to drama school, my voice was probably around here. Like, I'd always been an actor, so I probably played with more of my voice than most people. So before I went to drama school, my voice was about here. After I left drama school, my voice was probably around here somewhere, lots of voice classes. And now that I'm a sound healer and I use my voice all the time, this is where my voice sits. So
I love that.
My voice has been through a journey itself, but it's really it's just useful to be able to connect to your whole voice, so that when you are expressing yourself, and there's nothing like, about emotional health, mental and emotional health, we all know there are songs that you can put on that just make you feel better.
Yeah.
Sound has an amazing healing capacity. So why not just be like, la 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 to yourself? Like, if you're feeling gunky, then put on a song, sing, dance, or if you can't, then just hum to yourself. I was getting really frustrated and stressed I've been traveling around the world speaking lately, and I was in an airport in a queue that was going really slow, and I just stood there and hummed to myself to relieve my frustration and anger. Like, and everyone's so into their own world at the moment. Everyone's plugged into their own.
Yeah,
Don't worry about other people thinking you're daft or silly, because they're all in their own world anyway.
But you probably did have a ripple effect. Your vibration was spreading around you.
I did notice some people going, oh, what's that? So if you're in that state, if you are in a state of high emotion, that humming is a really great way to bring yourself in. If you're sat there and you're feeling really stressed, then hum. Just hum, hum, hum. Play with the sound. Distract yourself. It brings you out of your brain into your body. Sound is so good for you. And part of the problem with stress is most of the time we don't know we're stressed. We don't know until we hit overwhelm. So if you can catch those little things that are starting to stress you, hum them out. Like, match the vibration and just hum them out, so that you don't become the boiled frog.
Oh, Judith, I could talk to you forever about this topic. If people want to connect with you, will you let us know how is best that we can do that? And also maybe direct us towards your book and tell us a little bit more about it. Yeah,
sure. So I am at Your Whole Voice. So whole as in whole voice, whole you, whole life. And yourwholevoice.com, or on social media, mostly on Instagram and Facebook. I try to do Twitter as well, but that's all Your Whole Voice, so it's nice and easy.
Brilliant.
And so the Transformation Lessons book, which is this one, that's the Association of Transformational Leaders of Europe. So there's 38 chapters in there, each of us giving a little bit of our lesson or the tools that we use to help people transform their lives. So if you're interested in getting multiple, and the same with the Notes to My Younger Self, that's 18 authors writing a letter back to their younger self. So I write back to 8-year-old me, where I made a choice to step into how I stepped into how I saw life, and write her a letter back going, I'm sorry I was so stubborn and didn't ask for help. There's some amazing journeys in that. And then this one, I don't know if we can see it properly.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, this is my one. Stop shooting, start wanting. Oh, there we go. Notes to My Younger Self is going, no, me.
Yes.
So yeah, stop shooting, start wanting. And that's, for me, it's the first step to finding your voice. Because if you don't know what you really want, and again, we go to truest truth. If you don't know what you really want from the situation, then how can you express yourself clearly?
Yeah.
And it's about expressing yourself with clarity, confidence, and conviction. But the first thing is clarity. So if you don't know what you want from life, so it's more of a general coaching book. The specific voice book's going to come out probably next year. But you need to know what it is you want. And if you're living your life by shoulds, I should do this because that's how my parents did it. I should do this because that's what society expressed. Is that what you want? So finding out what it is that you desire is really key. And then you can start expressing it. But if what you think is, I don't know, oh, I'm angry and I just want it to stop. Well, if you express I'm angry and I just want it to stop, that probably won't meet with something that's going to be useful. Whereas if actually you're angry because I feel like my authority isn't being respected, or I feel like my expertise isn't being recognized, that's a much better. It's like, well, actually, if you express, I feel like my expertise isn't being recognized here. That's much better than,
Yes.
No one here cares about what I have to say, so why do I bother speaking up?
You're letting the truth out there.
Yeah. So what is it that you really want? So that's the easy way. I think they're all available on Kindle and from Book Depository if you don't like Amazon, because I know some people are anti-Amazon.
Are they on audiobooks actually?
Not yet. Not yet.
I think that you would be wonderful doing your own book, actually. If you ever do, I hope that you do it yourself.
Oh, I will be. Yeah. If you need an actress for a voiceover, it's like, well, I may as well do my own book. But yeah, feel free to connect with me on social media. Send me an email. If you're thinking, oh, that sounds interesting and you'd like to work more, I work online. I have retreats and workshops or one-on-one programs. So
fantastic.
It's just really important.
That's been wonderful, Judith. I really enjoyed our call. Thank you. As I say, I love your topic. It's very close to my own heart, the topic. And so look forward to connecting with you again in the future. And thank you very much again for sharing your gems of wisdom with us.
Thank you. Oh, and if anyone wants, there's actually a free download. There's a free sonic meditation. So if you want that on my website, just go and download that, or some top 10 tips for talking. That's there too.
That's all on Your Whole Voice, WHOLE voice.com.
That's it.
Brilliant. Thanks for letting us know.
Thank you.
Talk soon.
Take care.